Okay. I want to talk about today about down into the valley we go. What I'm talking about is Hillary Clinton as being the I'll get going here in a second. As being the Goliath of the liberals, and this is literally what the Bible says right here. 1 Samuel 17:51. This is the point I want to talk about that from today. Okay. Therefore David ran. Now this is when David slew Goliath. 1 Samuel 17:51. David ran and stood upon the Philistine. That's after he had knocked him down. He threw the stone, knocked him down. And this is where we are right now. This is where we are. Okay? As a nation, David has been knocked down. Hillary has been knocked down. Okay? And she is out of it. Don't get me wrong, she's out of it. But the enemy does not see her as being out of it. As being out of it. Now listen to what this says, okay? When they saw him, when they saw their champion was dead, they fled. Their hearts melted within them. So David ran and grabbed the Philistine's sword, pulled it from his sheath, and used it to kill him. See, the stone didn't kill him. It just knocked him out. And then he cut off his head. When the Philistines, when they saw it, that their hero was dead, they ran. Now this is how you're going to know when they actually see Hillary as a finished cooked goose. This is how you're going to know. The liberal media will shut their mouths. The liberal media will shut their mouths. The other side, they will go into their house. When they see Trump supporters coming, they will go into their house. They'll run from you. They will go into their house and they will close the door. They'll walk the other way. They will yeah, bring that over here.
Do you know how old I am?
This is not advertising. But see this little dog?
Oh.
You know?
What was that?
That reminds me of the liberals right now. They're a spoiled, rotten brat. They want their toys to play with. They're aggravated. They're throwing a hissy fit, laying on the floor kicking, acting childish. And they will not stop until they see their hero dead. Out for the count. Counted out. I'll read that to you again. And they saw him. David took his sword and out of his sheath and slew him and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion dead, they fled. They ran. Exactly that. You know what? Until the enemy sees their Goliath dead, they're going nowhere. The liberal media still sees Hillary as the champion. Somehow they're going to resurrect her. David has knocked her out. David has knocked her out. Somehow they think they're going to resurrect. I mean, I could see those people running, you know. Now the Bible doesn't say this, but I can imagine that there was certain of them. Goliath had 4 brothers or 5 brothers? 4 brothers. Because David picked up 5 stones. And so he was ready for them to come and start to rescue Goliath.
Anything important?
That's actually.
I love you, man. Anyway, okay. So, now this is what it is right here, okay? They don't see him. Obviously David was ready for them to run down into the valley. David knew this guy had to be slain. He didn't waste any time. It took them a lot more time to run down into the valley than what they expected. He went down there braver by himself. I think it was 40 days he went down and taunted Israel. How many times have the liberal media taunted us with their Goliath? You know what I'm saying? Now, and I want to read you some more of this. I want to go over to
Here, dry it out.
and because I'm fairly sure that it says here that their heart melted within them. And if it doesn't say it right here in this particular place, I know it says it somewhere, but I just want to make sure that it does say it, because that's what happened. Their hearts melted within them. They become afraid. Not just afraid, but very afraid. You know? Israel was on one side, and the Philistines were on the other, and they had been lined up for 40 days, and David heard all that this stuff had been going on, and he went before the king. He says, I want to go down into the valley to face Goliath, and the king gave him his armor. One of the most famous stories in the Bible, where King Saul gave David his armor, but the Bible says that David couldn't go with his armor. I mean, his armor was too heavy for David. So David took those things which he had proved effective for him. And this is what we have to do. We really don't need the media on our side. We don't need the media on our side, fellas. You understand what I'm saying? We just need those things that we have proved,
Here, stop.
which has everything to do with truth. Okay. And let me start like verse 48 and just read down through the rest of this chapter. It's only 58 verses long. I'm going to start at verse 48. Okay, 10 verses here. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hastened and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. This little bitty guy, you know. But you know what? This is proof that they viewed President Trump as a little small guy, nothing. Because that dinner party the other day that they showed on TV where Trump was taunting Trump and making him out to look like a little guy, saying that he was nothing to worry about. You could see the look on David's face, on Trump's face, that says, I think now's the time. And that's what David did here. Because Trump said when he was like 30 years old that he had planned on running for president. Okay? That was one of his objectives. Okay, so, and he ran, David did, toward the army of the Philistines. So this is what Trump did. He ran toward them. He faced them, all their taunting. You know what? That's one thing that Goliath did. When he went down into the valley, he ran his mouth. You bunch of cowards. He said, give me a man to fight. You know, that's what the media was doing. Oh, you guys are nothing. This little wimpy-fied dude. Look at him. He's a pervert. He said the P word. He hates women. Look at Rosie O'Donnell. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, everything. That's the same thing that Goliath did here. Exactly the same thing that Goliath did. Give me a man if he is able. 40 days the Bible said he done this. 40 days. And give me a man if he is able. We will fight. And whoever wins, the one will serve the other. Now you tell me that if that's not the liberalism and conservative right now. Whichever wins, that's the idea. Whichever wins, one's going to serve the other. Isn't that true? That's what they were looking at. Now that's not what's going to happen. One here is not going to serve the other. Every man's going to get up, work for himself, and earn his own keep. Just the way it should be. Okay? Nobody's going to serve anybody, but you folks are going to have to get off your buns and get a job. End of story. Get over it. Go sit in a corner and squall. You get tired of squalling and run out of tears, and then get up and go get a job, because the jobs will be there for you. There will be a way. I've done it. I'm 62. I've done it for 42 years now, or better. It's not going to kill you. Anyway, that's the way it was looking, exactly the way it is today. And the Bible says, David put his hand in his bag and took a stone and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk in his head, and he fell upon the earth to his face. So David prevailed over the Philistine with the sling and with the stone, and smote the Philistine, and slew him, but there was no sword in his hand. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of his sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and the Philistines fell down by the way to Sharam, even unto Gath, and to Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem. He put it in his tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistines, he said to Abner, the captain of his host, "Whose son is this youth?" And Abner said, "As thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell." And David said, "Inquire of whose son this strapling is." Strapling. And David returned from the slaughter of Philistines. Abner took him and brought him before the King Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, "Whose son art thou, young man?" And David answered, "I am the son of thy servant Jesse the Bethlehemite." Okay, so he took the head and he presented it to the king. So, or at least before the king. But anyway, what is going on here is when they saw that he was dead. See, I mean, you know what the devil always tries to show? His biggest power is influence. Hillary was the influence. The devil makes mistakes like this. He puts all of his advertisement of his deed. I don't know what the word for that is, but I'm sure there's a word. But he put all of his trust in Hillary to deliver the message across. Now, he has sent his Goliath. He has a hard time learning about these things. Every time he sends a Goliath, God slays him. Well, not every time, because sometimes men don't turn to God. When men don't turn to God, like David was to God, therefore, men fail. Men fail. When people fail to turn to God, when people fail to pray, when people fail to reach out, then Goliath presides over the battle. I don't know how many Davids that has been brave enough to step out and was swiped away. And was swiped away because God was not involved in what they were doing. You can have a hero, you can have many heroes, but if you go out on a field without God, you better have more strength than that thing which you're facing in your arm. Because without God to guide your stone, without God to set up the events, without God to shut his mouth, without God to melt the hearts, without God, without the Spirit of the Lord being in David, he would have lost that day. He would have lost that day. And the Philistines here are not going to give up the battle. The media is not going to give up the battle until they, verse 51, see that their hero has been slain. That's it. They're just not going to give up the battle. And we're going down into the valley. Listen to this. Down into the valley means that there is a battle that we must fight after Goliath has been visually slain. There is a battle that must be fought by us. There's a battle that must be fought by us after their Goliath is visually slain. Look at this, the Bible right here. What happened? Verse 52, I think it is. And the men of Israel and Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until they come to the valley. Until they come to the valley. That's what I'm saying. Down into the valley we go. Down into the valley we go, folks. Get ready. Get ready, because this battle is coming. Get ready, saints who know the law. Get ready, saints who know the law. Get ready, saints, you who are of righteous judgment. John 24:7. John 24:7. Judge a righteous judgment. Get ready, saints who are judges of this land. Get ready to judge righteously. Get ready, preachers. Not you television evangelists, because you're a coward. You're what caused this country to be like it is right now.
Get over here.
You can shut your mouth and run off into the corner with the rest of them.
Tia, get over here.
You can shut your mouth and go off into the corner of the rest of them, because the hounds of heaven is going to be after you as well as them. People are going to desert you. Joel Osteen, people are going to desert your church. You're going to go into your big $100 million building and you're going to see 12 people sitting inside of your big fancy church. People are going to desert you because they're going to realize you have betrayed who you are. You have allowed, all you preachers like this, you've allowed the devil to take over this country. You have not preached truth. You've only preached prosperity. But yet you know that the Bible says, what is a man gained if he has the whole world and has lost his soul? So preachers, you evangelists who are really of God, who don't look for money, who don't look for prestige of the world, but who looks to please God's heart, get ready to stand up and go fight. Because as soon as Hillary is slain, I'm telling you what, there is coming a move of God like this world has never seen. There is coming a move of God like this world has never seen. God is getting ready. An explosion is getting ready to happen in Christ like has never happened before. An explosion is getting ready to take place. So saints, get ready to go down into the valley and get ready to fight a real fight. And start showing compassion there's nothing wrong with holding a baby and showing it that you care about it. But first it's got to get out of this tantrum mode. We can show compassion to the liberals after they stop their freaking tantrum. Not before. After. God bless you. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next time right here, Crossing the Middle Ministry.